undertook my biography of Neil, Death of an Idealist, in the spirit of asserting memory against forgetting. So the news that Rhodes University was setting up a Neil Aggett Labour Studies unit here in Grahamstown, where Neil first came to school 50 years ago, was deeply pleasing.
During the first week of April this year, Rhodes University officially relaunched its Labour Market Research Unit as the Neil Aggett Labour Studies Unit. The launch of the unit, which falls under the Institute of Social and Economic Research in the Humanities faculty, began with the first annual Neil Aggett lecture given by Dr. Beverly Naidu.
His body was found hanging in his cell in the early hours of the 5th of February 1982. 14 hours earlier, he made an affidavit to a uniformed police officer detailing some of his torture and abuse. Aggett van Heerden, in the cell opposite Neil, and himself terribly tortured, had advised Neil to bend a little in order to survive. But bending was not in his nature.
The launch event continued the next day with a colloquium at Makana City Hall on the current state of the labour movement within South Africa. Aggett, a medical doctor by trade, was heavily involved with trade unions under apartheid, and many of his old comrades were present.
If I look at the case of the farm workers, I say certainly, you can't organise a national union of farm workers from Johannesburg or from Cape Town. You've got to have local capacity to respond.
I think Neil, to me, joined the class struggle in philosophy that Neil was to change the world outlook.
You know, the days of the liberation struggle, we were trying to, we were looking at what we can become. We were constantly setting our values in terms of a new society, a new person that is yet to be born. We were trying to see what are those values that we will try and bring into being.
Dr. John Reynolds, newly appointed head of NALSU, took some time out of the day's busy schedule to talk to Oppi TV about the importance of remembering Aggett, who was the 51st person and first white person to die in detention.
I think the key thing that stands out in terms of the life and ideals of Neil Aggett is his deep humanism. It goes beyond even the questions of ideology or particular theoretical framework, etc. I think he deeply valued people for themselves, and he also viewed himself in those terms. So he made himself vulnerable. He opened himself up to the world as a human being.
The final day of the launch was the official opening of Neil Aggett House, headquarters of NALSU, by Jill Berger, Aggett's sister. The Eastern Cape MEC for Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism, Mcebisi Jonas, was also present at the opening and addressed the crowd.
And I must say that it is fitting that this research unit is named after Neil Aggett. And I think as provincial government, and I speak on behalf of the provincial government, we really appreciate the suggestion by Rhodes University that the unit be called Neil Aggett Unit, and we embrace it quite fully.
Anybody who knew Neil, Roy Jobson from Kingswood was with us there, and they will tell you that here was a man, he was head of a house, he was arguably the most popular guy in our year.
We went up on the left and there was Neil. Strong, as always, calm, and we just sat holding his hands, trying to empower him with our love to endure this awful incarceration. He couldn't say what was happening to him, and I do believe at that time his interrogation had been fairly light. We weren't to know what was to follow. And that's the last time we saw him, my beloved little brother.